Welcome back to another episode of Performance Talk, and today I definitely have a goodie, like something personally that I have been wanting to get on the chart, somebody who could legitimately answer some questions that I've personally had. I think that this person is well qualified in what they've done in motorsports, what they're still doing, the bridge that they're putting between this bridge, between this gap I think we have in the world, period. And I think what their family has done in the world of motorsports is monumental and definitely a milestone and isn't talked about enough. Recently, just dropped on Discovery Channel, I bring to you Troy Adams of the A&P Motorsports Park out of California. Troy, thanks for joining us, man.
Man, a pleasure. A pleasure. Thanks for having me on. My family's been in the motorsports industry since 1960. We've been blessed to be on Discovery Plus, so make sure you go out and stream Discovery Plus. Baby Drivers, the new show that's on that platform. But no, man, we've been in the racing game since 1960. It started from my grandmother and grandfather, and really my uncles buying a go-kart for my cousins. From that point, they were riding like we do in the hood. They was riding out in the streets, and my grandmother was like, "No, Frank," which is my grandfather's name. You need to drag a track in the back farm, which is what they had back then. So they drug a little go-kart track, a little fun track for the kids, and people were driving back and forth, from in and out of town because our property lies right on the main fairway, and people stopped, asked could they drive on our little fun go-kart track back at that time. And we end up opening up for business, or they end up opening up for business. I wasn't born at that time. And 2 weeks later, man, my grandmother and grandfather never worked a day in their life after that. That was the mission for the family at that time.
Whoa, bro. So probably one of the first, it got to be the first black-owned go-kart track probably in the nation at that time.
Yeah, really, it's the only African-American black-owned racetrack that we know of in the nation, if not the world. We're still one of the only ones that we know of. And again, we've kind of, since it's been cool to be black and black-owned over the last couple of years, and being okay, I would say, not cool. But
right.
The bottom line is no one that we know of is a minority-owned, black-owned racetrack that we know of.
Bro, that's monumental, man. And the fact that it's still in the family, man. So, okay, so how did you come into the picture and just continue this on what your family has started? Because, so many times, like, we'll have things in black families and then they get sold off or dropped off and there's nothing to continue on down the generation. So how did you continue on? How did you come into the picture?
No, great question. Really, man. I played basketball, conventional sports, all the way up through high school, through college, because when you own Magic Mountain, you don't enjoy the ride. So our family was set that we worked the racetrack. We didn't get a chance to actually participate in motorsports at that time. And so all of my uncles are in engineering. And so, for me, it was the same deal. Go to engineering, got a job at Roar in an aerospace plant. I worked 3 months, man. And I was like, nah, this is boring. Cannot do it. So I quit. Came back home, talked to my aunt, said, "Hey, I want to start a racing school." Crazy enough thing was I never really had raced at that time.
Okay.
I always was around it. The only two people at that time who had really raced was the two individuals that the original go-kart was bought, which was my cousin John and my cousin Ralph. But I knew that I'd been around it. I understood the business side of motorsports. And so I began to kind of just emerge myself more in the racing side, as well as I was already on the business side. And it just grew from there. Started my own racing school, and kind of things fell into place where a couple of my clients were like, "Hey, you too good to be coaching. You need to be racing." Like, and I got no money for that. And I ended up, the guy told me, "Look, if you go to this racing school," which at that time was Russell Racing School up north in California. And like any racer, I sucked the first couple of days. And my sister came out. I always remember this, man. It's all about family, right? My sister came out and said, "You never wanted to be a race car driver, so why don't you just go out and have fun, do what you do?" And I smoked everybody the third and fourth day. Came back, ended up getting a deal in a NASCAR truck deal, and it a little smaller one at that time. and my racing career just took off from there.
All right, man. So now you have this show, Discovery Plus, man. Congratulations on that.
Appreciate it.
Tell them a bit about what is the show about. How'd you feel about even doing the show? Because some people that are in your position have to be pretty like concerned about images, especially when it comes to media. Like, because media come in and do something, and then you'll see the product and be like, "Yo, that's not even what really happened." So tell them a little bit about what is going on with it. What are you doing, and how you felt about being approached in that way.
Nah, Baby Drivers is an incredible show. We've had the opportunity to get that on Discovery Plus and that platform and streaming that. But it's really about the lives of, some smaller young drivers, Ford drivers. We have Grayson Dean, African-American young man out of Chicago, Troy Ferguson, which is up in the LA area, Hudson Hidalgos, again, also in the LA area. And then my son, Truly, which is, Riverside, where we are. I think I covered them all. Grayson Dean, Troy, yep. And it's about families and what it takes to be in this sport, because it's not cheap.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that.
It's about the mental aspect game that we work on an everyday basis for not just the athlete, which is my kids, but also the mental game of what it takes to stay in the business and dealing with the parents as well. So yeah, it's going to take you through these emotional roller coasters, man. But there's a lot of funny little points, because like always, when those Steve Harvey or moments, right? Kids say the darndest things, and from the kids digging in their nose or whatever else. I ain't gonna tell the whole deal, right. But it's a good show, man. It's a good family show, but it's also good to see what it takes to be elite.
Yeah, I saw you get on one of the drivers. He fell. I tell my daughter every time before we leave the house, go to the restroom. Go to the restroom before we leave the house. He was like, "Why you come out here like that, man?"
Right.
So, okay, now let's get to something that I definitely want, because this is a question I have, because I've done some research. I've called several AAU programs. I've called all the way from basketball, baseball, and track. And just myself trying to figure out, like, where is this gap between Black families and motorsports racing? It's just, to me, doesn't seem like, you look at football, 75% of the players are Black, you know what I'm saying, or African-American. And then you have like very little minority owners, which it seems in racing, like both are true. Very little to no minority or Black owners, and very little compared to the grid or the track to Black drivers. So where's the gap? Why is there such a gap here? What are we missing on bridging more participation from our Black families within motorsports?
Well, I mean, I think one of it is just what we're comfortable with, right? It's what we've grown up in. And I myself, I grew up in that AAU. Back then it wasn't called that, but that AAU system where you practice, you go outside. Back in the day, whether it's, depends on what neighborhood you've grown up on. Some of us had the opportunity to go to the gyms. Other ones, we, tack up a little basketball on a telephone pole, and you better make sure you don't miss.
Right.
But that's, it's easy. I won't say it's easy, but it's easier to get in a stick and ball sport. It don't cost that much money. You got to remember, in motorsports, it costs money as soon as you start the race car up. It costs money on fuel. It costs money, which we know that ain't no joke right now. Right. Tires, who's going to be out there to help you if you don't have a clue? Most of our minority families are not engaged in automotive industry and or mechanics. So now who's going to work on a go-kart, right? Do you have a truck? Are you going to be able to take it to the track, or are you going to store it there and pay a fee? So there's a lot of little things that come along with why I think our community is not involved. But I'm going to say the number one is that, we don't have the access. And then the other side of it is we spend our money a little differently, because when you're in motorsports, you're spending every minute, every dime in the race game to get your child better. Right.
I think I definitely have to agree with a portion of that, because I had a mini bike, I had a Yamaha 250, I had a go-kart, but it just seemed like it was all recreation to my family. Like you just get out there in the street drive, you go to some field drive. It was never like a push. Even though I went to the go-kart tracks, it was never a push, or never was it ever mentioned to me like, yo, why don't you try racing? And I think you're exactly right with like what's comfortable. But I talked to some AAU coaches, right? And I asked one, he particularly is a very elite AA coach here in Atlanta. And he was saying that I asked him, did he think it was a financial thing? And he was saying that no, he thought that was totally false because of the money that his parents spend in the AAU programs. And at that time, I couldn't get anybody on the line as far as a karting system to answer these questions, besides for you, which I tremendously thank you for. And he gave me some numbers like anywhere from $7,000 to $20,000, depending on what program, what they're doing, if they're traveling. So he felt like, no, it's not the money thing. So now I'm asking you, as somebody who's in it, is there a big difference between what they're spending a season in AAU basketball or track compared to what a parent has to spend in motorsports getting their kid ready for an elite level?
And all due respect to all the AAU coaches, right? I think they do an enormous job with what they do. But I could sponsor the whole team for how much we spend on some of these kids in racing. That's the difference.
A whole team?
The whole team. You got 10 players, we sponsor the whole team. That's the difference. You got to remember. So let's put it.
Break that down for us.
Let's put it in perspective. All right. So you're gonna have 10 players who go to practice, right? You have 10 players who go to practice. What does that cost them? Right? What does it cost? It costs maybe they got to catch the bus. Mom and dad got to drive them to the gym, whatever the case may be.
Right.
Let's say there's a $5 gym fee. Okay, so that's $50, not racks, $50. So now at all in, let's say buy some, we're going to give them some new shoes.
Right.
We're going to get some new shoes. So let's say that's depending on the parents, $50 to $200. So at the high end, we $250.
Right.
Right. Per player. So now we go with 10. I'm gonna go with one driver. Okay, one driver. Automatically, when you get to the racetrack, it's gonna cost you about $50 to $100 for fuel. Well, entry fee, $50 to $75 entry fee to get in and practice. Another $50 to $100 for fuel. $250 for the new shoes, which are your tires.
Okay.
If you have a coach, because you got a coach,
right?
So coach is going to cost you $300 a day minimum to $750 a day, depending on which one you get. So, and we ain't wrecked the car. God forbid you drive off the track, you wreck something. It's done.
So we're not even talking about the expenses of even getting the car yet, because we haven't gotten into car, we haven't gotten the helmet, we haven't gotten into.
No, that's $15,000. So the car
I'm about to say, because I had one of those cars, and I know my car at that time, about 4 or 5 years ago, I had a Razor. It cost me about $5,000.
So that cart right there, again, that's a used cart. It's my son's cart. He's won a lot of races on it, but that's on sale right now for $7,500. His new cart that's in the back of my shop is $15,000, and we ain't even put it together yet. And it's gonna go to the first race in Utah in a couple weeks, but it will not hit the track till then because metal and everything also has fatigue. There's memory, stuff like that. So we got to make sure it's fresh when it hits the track. Little different. I always tell, and I tell this to all of my families, right? You have to check the temperature of your kids, because I'm not forcing my son into this race game.
Right.
God knows if he decided, said, Daddy, I want to go play baseball, basketball. I told him this the other day, son, I'll buy you a baseball bat every day. Let's switch. You ain't hurting my feelings to be in this race game, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what it would take. But I know what it takes to become an elite athlete in other things. I mean, I have my cousins that I helped raise up, D1 players. I have a golfer that was #1 in the country.
Ooh,
you know, the cross train. I don't play golf that well, but it's coaching is coaching.
Right.
It's a lot of it is a mental game. But the difference in our own community is it takes finances, it takes sponsors, it takes support, right? The same as we do in AAU. It's just a different way that we spend our money and how we value the sport that we're spending our money in.
Right.
The other side of it is we talk about practice. AAU, you practice about, call it 4 or 5 times a day, a week, maybe.
Right.
We go 2 times but there's other kids, my counterparts, I'm gonna tell you, I spend $60,000-$70,000 a year on my son's racing, of which he has to also get involved. We've made he has his own sponsorship debt. He calls on sponsors every year in October. He understands the business of racing, right? But there's other of my counterparts that we're talking about that their budget is, I just talked to a kid the other day. His dad spends $70,000 a quarter. Now that's a big difference.
You said a what?
A quarter. That's four quarters. 4 quarters a year. No, that's 3 months, Doc. 3 months. So 3 quarters, right? 4 quarters a year. 7 times 4, 28, 280,000 a year.
Damn, bro.
That's what we're racing against. So I tell people as a community as well, how we focus in Troy Adams coaching is that I'm not going to try to outspend you.
Yeah.
But I'm damn near going to outwork you.
There you go.
And everybody's fast. Now my drivers got to be smarter. And so when you see the show on, Baby Drivers on Discovery Plus, it truly is about not just speed. It's about conditioning. It's about mental. And it's about, doing something more than just being about yourself. It truly is about a team. It takes a team, for us to be successful. It takes sponsors and marketing partners and all of this stuff in order to be successful. And so our kids learn that from an early age.
Damn, man, I appreciate that, because that right there definitely opens up a lot of information to me, because I felt that it had to be something in regards to that, because like I said, I bought a cart, I bought the maxi tires, and I've done all that. And that was just for me to have fun on the weekends, just because I'm playing around. So I can only imagine, you got to get a trailer, and I got the trailer. So I kind of knew, but I was like, I didn't really have an acute idea because I haven't been that deep into it. So that definitely provided some. What about the aspect that with school sports being something to get these kids or parents experiencing, because you don't have any type of motorsports programs that I know of when it comes to school level to college level. We got bass fishing, we got all types of stuff. Why aren't there more programs going to the collegiate level or even starting in high school as far as with motorsports? What's the situation with that, if you know?
Well, I'm in high schools. A lot of your high schools have taken automotive, out of the system. And so I think with NASCAR and some of the things, the IRL and now Formula One, in the States, I think that we're going to start seeing companies kind of support the school system to get those activities back in there, or it's going to have to come through a charter system or whatever. Okay. We're working on something out here in California in regards to the same thing, to either create, partner with a charity or create some type of charter system so that kids can learn at the early age. The other part of that with school is, unlike AAU and or stick and ball sports, you can get excused from school to go and attend these games. Right. Because it's part of the school system. A majority of them are. In racing, they calling child protective services on us when you miss too much school. So now you either have to, go into a private school. Now it costs even more money. Damn, there ain't gonna be no sponsorship like in basketball, football. You can go be a 5th-year senior and they help you fund it. Right. Not happening. So now that's another 50 grand, right? In a private school, or you have to go to a charter school, or you have to figure out some kind of system within the public school program so that the school gets their money and they allow your kid to attend or go to a lot of these functions. I mean, we leave for Utah in a couple of weeks. Thank God he's already out of school, but we would miss 4 days there. Right. We come back. So we go from Tuesday basically to Sunday, come back Monday, then fly out again on the next Tuesday to Mexico to go race or practice and race from Tuesday through Sunday again. Okay. So it's just the racing game, to understand the business aspect of it, to understand what it takes from the schooling, the parenting, everything. It's just it's a tough process for our community to get involved with. But I will say, we've had a lot of individuals giving us a call, and we're trying to work with as many as we can. And I think there's a lot of programs that are starting to work that. Jesse Uiji, that's on Xfinity, he's partnered with Emmitt Smith. Good dude. I know they're trying to do some things. I don't know about Jordan's program yet, but hopefully they will. I know NASCAR does an okay job with their minority program. I know they've got a lot of mechanics and stuff like that in there, their diversity program. But a lot of that is at an older level, right? High school, college kids that are doing it. The problem is, unlike that'd be like me saying you and I are going to take a kid that's in high school or a senior, and then we're going to go and put him in college and think he can be able to ball out. Not going to happen. You don't understand the system. Well, you can't take a kid at 16, 18, 19 and put him into a race car and think he can beat a kid that's been doing it since he's 4 years old.
No.
The only person I would say, and it's been good, Roger Caruth, he's in ARCA, started online. That's another program that kids can get involved with. Started online, and he's doing fairly well. But God willing, he'll make it to the promised land. Okay,
so let me ask you this, because we know these names that I'm about to mention. We know Lewis Hamilton, great in Formula One. We know Bubba Wallace, which I myself, I don't watch a lot of NASCAR because I never really grew up. I grew up watching it, but I didn't really like it because I just didn't dig the circles, right? I had to have something different. I was just one of the kids, like, I got to have a multitude of different things, which was what made it hard for me in school. If things got monotone, I needed some variations.
Yeah.
But Bubba Wallace is like, by far, like, he's done great, and people criticize him as much as they do. But then a lot of times I find myself saying, like, you do realize there are like 40 participants. He's not always last, but you talk about him the most. What was your experience like, knowing a lot of things that we do know out here that have happened to these elite drivers? What was your experience like as a Black man in NASCAR? Because we all know the history of NASCAR and some of the things we don't like to hear now. And it's good to know they're doing things a little bit better, but what was your experience like?
No, I mean, NASCAR has grown tremendously. And I will have to take my hat off to the progress that they've had over the last couple of years. My experience was not as good. Well, let me back up. I've seen the documentary on Bubba, and I know that he's had a tough road, right? There's drivers before him that had way tougher.
Willie T. Ribs,
Willie. I mean, I talk to Willie every so often. And so my experiences are more like Willie's. You can be the fastest, but if the community doesn't want you, they may want your money. They may want the notoriety of saying that we're in the sport, but they really don't want you.
Right.
It's a big difference, right? And so sometimes my experiences back in the day, especially as I was going up through, I did some tests in Charlotte, North Carolina. I always remember this one in Concord. And I ended up beating some of the top kids at that time in Concord at Concord Motor Speedway. And so it's kind of the tip of the driver diversity program, but it wasn't called any of that. It was just for a team. I ended up winning. Older lady came up and was like, "Man, I'm so happy that you won." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, why would that's? I appreciate that." And she was like, "Yeah, because all your people gonna come to my racetrack now, and that's a whole different revenue stream."
Whoa!
And like your face, I was like, "What?" And so my dad, I'm from the West Coast. I didn't get that kind of conversation. But it opened my eyes up to the business side of it. And I get, I didn't like it at that time, but I get it.
But you get it.
And that's the key. And so as long as I understand the game, then I can function and operate in the game. And so all of my failures, I end up crazy enough. I end up winning it. The crew chief was not happy that I beat a lot of his boys that was back there, told the owners, Lenny Miller and his son, which was actually a Black-owned team, that I was good enough to beat everybody else, but I wasn't good enough to race their race car. So they didn't allow me to race it. It was crazy. Again, Black-owned team back at that time.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. But, the Millers, they've done a phenomenal job in the motorsports. I don't know if they're still around, but that was just a crazy, crazy time. But it's business. And that's what you have to look at. You know, I tell my son, I tell our athletes, it is business.
Right.
What you see going around that racetrack is the fluff. Behind the scenes is all business. And if you don't take care of the business, then that car ain't going around racetrack. It's not, unfortunately, it ain't sticking ball. Like the best players, even in sticking ball, but the best players not really always on that court.
True.
But they didn't understand the process and the business in order to get there. Right. They understand maybe they had to take those different tests or get the grades or whatever political things that they had to do in order to get to the league, get to their dream. They decided they didn't want to do. It's the same thing in any other sports, with the exception of NASCAR, Formula One, all over. It takes a lot of money. Then you also have to understand the business game of it.
Okay. So with everything that you learned in participating in that level, now I know on your site it says off-road, NASCAR. So are you pretty much honed in on those? Because I didn't see anything about open wheel as far as Indy or Formula One. So why is that not there? Or is it something that just kind of comes with that foundation of learning? It's like you could take it anywhere and you just specialize in off-road and NASCAR. Or is there a reason why you don't have open wheel racing on there as well?
No, I have. So when we built the site, again, you always advertise your top level athletes, and you always go, again, the business side. We focus on what makes us money. It's not about the notoriety to me. Like my one kid that I work with, have a great relationship with. You know, he came to us back in the day when he was struggling on his braking. That's what we master in.
I saw that.
It's Colton Herta, right? Colton Herta just got a test and is going to be the next driver for McLaren. I'll put that out in the world.
Nice.
So, you know, there's my open wheel guy, Buddy Rice, Indianapolis 500 winner. Anytime Buddy goes to a different discipline, he slept on our couch. I've done multiple business deals with Buddy and race with Buddy. There's my open wheel guy.
Got you.
Gustavo Menendez was all the way through Red Bull. Now he's overseas in a lot of your prototype cars.
Okay.
Their sports car. We have a few over there. World Rally, Andreas Mikkelsen, Ollie Velby. That's WRC, World Rally. WRX, we had Colton Keats. So we can go across the board. Hey, NASCAR, Haley Deegan, Riley Herbst, work with Noah Gregson, still all good friends of ours. They actually help promote the show. You know, shout out to all those guys, Sheldon Creed, a slew of NASCAR still doing it. Then then on our off-road platforms across it take me too long. So we've done well in all those four-wheel programs, but on our website, we focus on those individuals that have definitely collaborated with us. And my time has gotten limited, right?
Yeah. So, okay. And what really has happened to off-road? Because I remember back in the day, man, I used to love some Nintendo off-road racing and going to see a lot of the trucks.
Yeah.
What happened to it like since then? It seemed like did it die back or did it just change form or what?
Off-road has changed a lot. Right now, the major programs are in the Midwest. So my guys are headed back to Crandon right now. They'll run Milwaukee, Crandon, Wisconsin. Some big races, 50 to 100,000 spectators show up. Like, it's big. The problem with getting into off-road is you better have a lot of money. Like you think you need money in NASCAR and all that.
Right.
Those cats have, and I'm gonna say majority of the cars that you see is not a sponsored owned car. The actual company or name that's on the car is a family-owned business that they spend money on.
Okay.
That's like wealth. That's like generational money. Them guys, my guys over on that side, that's a whole nother world.
That's a whole
nother world.
I
even got in over there, I went kicking and screaming, and now a good friend of mine, Neil Grabowski, was like, nope, you're coaching my kids. Whatever it's gonna take, make it happen. We won. My history from there, I've been in off-road.
Congratulations.
Yeah, because it's a whole nother world.
Damn, so you need to basically a cosign to even get in the door to even it's damn.
You ain't getting in. It's it's a whole nother world. It would be myself, my wife, 15, 20,000 people. I go to Wisconsin.
Right.
I'm going to tell you, the first time I went to Crandon, 50,000 people, I think I seen 2 blacks.
Whoa.
Maybe 3 at the most.
50
Maybe.
out of 50,000? Plus or minus, only a handful that.
Oh, you ain't seeing, don't put a 5. Don't even put a.
Oh, man.
Don't put a 5.
Don't put a 5.
Don't put a 5, Doc. So it's cool now. I go back to NASCAR and I see a lot more of us, you know, on pit crews, right. You know, now on the media side. It's incredible. And like I said, I take my hat off to them.
That's crazy that you say that, man. Because my wife just this morning before I took the baby to school was like, yo, the school's going to give our daughter, because I have one graduating tomorrow, a NASCAR ticket. Do you want it? I said, oh, no, I ain't trying to get no fights this weekend. Like, it's crazy, man.
Nah, you'll love it. Again, NASCAR has changed tremendously. And you're going to still have the same old attitude, right? But I have to take my hat off to the NASCAR whole family. When I say family, the organization, that they've done a phenomenal job at opening up those doors.
Salute
to everyone, right? But as far as the drivers are concerned, we're gonna need our own community to get behind the drivers. We're gonna need to start them at a younger age, other than 15, 16. And what we don't understand is, in order for us to get from, say, a 10 or 11-year-old kid to Xfinity in NASCAR, it's gonna probably be 7 to 10 million.
Whoa! You talking about the road to get there?
Okay, let me break it back down. Let me break it down so that, like, it's gonna be easier for you to understand.
Yeah, 17 million.
Please do. Let's talk about the basketball.
Okay.
The cost it takes from a 10-year-old kid, to get to college, if he's gonna pay for everything, right? If he's gonna pay for club level, well, he's gonna play for first going to community league, then he's gonna get on an AAU team, then he's gonna get on a traveling team, AAU, then he's gonna go to a McDonald All-American and all that.
Right.
It's gonna take you probably a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
But we're gonna pump that up to, say, $500,000.
Okay.
Because he's gonna pay for college, right? We'll put him in the best college, everything. To do the exact same thing for a 10-year-old kid to get to Xfinity, to get to probably 3, maybe 2. I'm gonna say F3 because not 2, but let me say F3, F2. To get to, it's gonna be about 10 mil, 7 to 10 mil.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that's the difference.
That is the difference.
It takes how many shots to perfect? 10,000 is what they say?
Yeah, they say 10,000.
Okay, so 10,000 laps. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
That's the reason why we need the support of the community.
Man, okay, so.
But it's, I will tell you though, like Roger Carruth, you guys need to look him up. Good dude, young cat. I just seen him with Rick Ross.
Yeah, Rick Ross just had that car show.
And Roger was there. Roger was there. Carruth was there. You have, Floyd, Money Mayweather. He just bought into a NASCAR team. Hopefully he's going to do some stuff with some of the younger kids in motorsports, right? And not worry about someone at 15, 16, 17, but we're going to work with the foundation. Like, that's the cats that I want to talk to, that they can understand the business game, even at the lower level, because then by the time the kids are up there and we know how we drive, we know how we do sports, anything we immerse ourselves into, our kids will be at another level, but they need support at the bottom. Right. Because they can't make it through there. By the time they get to 10, 11 years old and they battle against kids that's doing, again, 280,000 to, I'm spending someone's salary at 50 grand.
Right. That's a fact.
I tell my son all the time, we could be doing very well in real estate if I didn't have to go-kart racing.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a fact.
Yeah, I can eat well. So
how many properties we'd have by
now? Yes, sir.
Right. Okay, so I wanna switch gears here because it's something that I also been working on. I've been doing my best, like, as a content provider, as somebody who's putting information out there, talking about motorsports, I've really been working hard, especially with having daughters. Like I just got her first like pocket rocket, trying to just get her experience that she loves when to go to car shows.
Yeah.
Like I've been really doing hard to try to highlight women in the space, whether they're driving, whether they're participating in motorsports. And it's been a little rough because I think somewhat there's like, I don't know if there's a barrier whether of trust, like of women to do certain media with certain people because they don't know how they're going to spin it. But I've really been doing a job. I talked to Amber Barclay where she's in the ARCA series, Sonia Slides. I reached out to several, but I get very few back. What is the participation like of females in your program as of like right now in your experience coming through your program?
I have quite a few. I probably have 4 in the pipeline. It's younger. A couple of my older ones, mid-level, have kind of dropped off a little bit, but it takes, my program's tough because it takes crazy dedication. Like once you see the show, again, you have to see the show to see.
Yeah, I saw the first episode. I was looking for more.
Well, wait till episode 2.
Okay.
Check that one out because you'll see, what it takes when I talk to my son about his diet.
I'm big on that.
And how the kids have to work out. And it's kind of a funny portion of that, but in order to be elite, you got to do what the elite do.
That's a fact.
And so I tell the young ladies, it is not about social media. It's not about, you need that as well, but you got to get, you got to kind of get into the grit and make it happen. And some families want to do that and others don't. Those who don't, they need to go to a different program.
So, okay, in my personal opinion, and you are a professional, so you could tell me if I'm wrong. In many sports, like male, female have their variation, right? We got boxing, kickboxing, football, basketball. Yeah. Now, maybe in those sports, I could see where, because in some of those sports, you're imposing your physicalness on another person's body. So, medically and human society says, 20% variation either way. Now, in motorsports, I feel like that's kind of canceled out. I feel like women equally could be just as great as men within motorsports because there's no physical opposing. Like you're not willing yourself onto somebody else. You're learning fundamentals, technicals, the track, the car. Am I wrong, or is there some truth to that?
No, 100%. I'll give you an example. To me, Hailie Deegan, she's probably one of the best women drivers that I've ever worked with and have ever seen. When she was younger, women are smarter when they're younger, and they also have the same strength, right? As women get older and as young men get older, the men get a little more, they get stronger. They get a little more of that aggression, that killer mentality, those that are elite. I'm only talking about the same level playing field, elite women, elite men.
Right.
Okay. So I always say we started off camera about, it takes a good woman to, make sure, right, with husbands,
Facts.
Right, or any business. So it's the same thing. Women to me are smarter as they get older. They get a little smarter. So they can't match us physically. Not happening. Let's just be real. But they can be smarter. And so they have to surround their people around, or they have to surround their program with smart people that believe in their gift. And once that happens, they can perform. To me, it was not hard for me to work with a Hailie Deegan and to get her to win, the first girl to ever win a professional NASCAR racing series in ARCA. Wasn't hard. No one's worked harder than Hailie. She understood the race game, right? When we went to racetracks, why she was able to bump and run and win those is because we practiced those skill sets week in, week out. She understood on last lap or whatever it took there. Now that she's in the upper levels, it's going to take her a little bit to get her strength and her platform, her balance in that arena, in the truck program. It's David and DGR to put the right people around her, stop messing up on pit row. But can she perform the same as the men? Yes. She's already proven that she can win. So it's like saying Lewis Hamilton, because he's losing, he sucks. No, he don't suck.
Yeah, that's cool.
circumstances have changed, right? Jeff Gordon and Ray Abraham, when they split up, Ray didn't stop learning how to set up cars, and Jeff didn't stop learning how to drive. But Juju, something happened that made them to where they couldn't win again. They couldn't dominate. So women can definitely perform equal to men. It's just going to be surrounding their self around the right crew, the right people, and truly believing that they're supposed to be there. It's truly believing that they have the gift, they have the skill sets, and then performing on the track. I tell my kids all the time, who's the best? They say they are. Okay, now prove it.
I saw that.
What does it take to prove? Yeah.
I like it. So Troy, I tell you what, man, why don't you let everybody know in case somebody's watching this and now maybe they feel like, you know what, maybe it's something I'll give a try. Just give all your contact information out, how people can reach you, social medias, any outlet that you want to put out here so that when people see the video, they can start looking you up. And I'll make sure to put links in the description for a hyperlink into your page as well.
Yeah, no. So if you're looking at going into racing, you need information, you want to come out and do a train with us at our go-kart track, or you want us to come out and do private lessons, make sure you contact us at troyadamscoaching.com. Check out the site. You can send us an email through there. That's probably the fastest and best way to do it. We have multiple platforms, social media, IG, Troy Adams Coaching, or Adams Motorsports Park. Both will get the information and get back to you as quickly as possible. But more importantly, I would say, if you really want an understanding about what it takes to be a true athlete in racing, check out Baby Drivers on Discovery Plus. Go stream it, sign up. It's we actually have a 7-day free trial, so you can check that out on Discovery Plus, and that's going to give you a full overview on what it takes.
Cool. And I'm gonna add to that. I'm telling you right now, if you feel like, okay, I might miss it, that's why you got DVR, you got record. Just record the whole series, hit old and new. That way you won't miss Baby Driver and you won't have an excuse to why you did not see this program. All right. And Troy, I really thank you and your boss for giving me the time today for talking on the podcast. Don't forget, the audio and video will be available on YouTube, and audio strictly on the podcast platform Podbean, which will give you access to all the streaming platforms. This is another episode of Performance Talk. We're out, and we wish you the best. Just build it. Peace. Thanks for tuning in and watching another video here at Wolfpack Performance. Check out some of my other content on Formula One issues, our topics, and our DIY products on how to customize your vehicle. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.